Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs and today I have a layered rainbow rose thanks card. So let's jump right in. And I just wanted to show you here how I like to outline the dies that come on the cardstock. So HoneyBee's dies don't come stuck together. You don't have to trim them out. They're all separate. But I find with dies that have a lot of small dies, especially like up in the right-hand corner at the top there are some really small dies. And I find that I wouldn't know if I had lost one because how would you know, right? So I do like to take, this is just a Copic fine liner, any pen would do. And I just go around the dies when they first come to me, and then I know where to put them, how they go back on the sheet, and I'm not worried about losing any. So that's just kind of my trick for that. And now I am going to cut out every one of the dies that comes in that set. And I am using my Gemini Junior here. It's the full-size Gemini Junior plates. And I am cutting it out of HammerMill Cardstock. I chose HammerMill because ink blending goes on the cardstock beautifully. And I am going to ink blend everything. So I did cut everything out of the white cardstock. And I did start with the rose to start. And then I kind of kept all of my pieces together so that I knew what I was working with. Also, I did number them on the back. I get a little confused sometimes, especially with stuff like this. I don't do a lot of interactive cards. I don't do a lot of that kind of thing because I find that I get frustrated and confused. So I did number my layers on the back so that I knew how they went together. And I'm going to use some of Simon Says Stamp's small blending brushes for this. And I'm going to use Distress Ink colors because they are so vibrant. And I really wanted this rose to stick out. I really wanted this rainbow to just stand out and be front and center. So for my rainbow, I chose to use picked raspberry, candied apple, carved pumpkin, squeezed lemonade, twisted citron, mermaid, lagoon, and wilted violet. And I'm just working through those colors. You can see that I'm blending quite quickly. And I did clean up my mat in between the pink, red, and orange before I did the yellow because I didn't want to transfer any of those colors onto the yellow rose or the yellow layer. And you can see that I had them sitting together there as well so that I knew what layer to work on next so that my color blend was in the right order. Now, of course, you could do this in any color. There are 7 layers, so obviously I chose 7 colors. And if you guys know me at all, you know that I love vibrant, bright colors and I love rainbow. So anytime I'm a little intimidated or unsure about what I'm doing, I kind of end up going back to rainbow. That just kind of is like my comfort color palette. So I do have a tendency to go that direction. And with this, I just thought that it would look really pretty and give me a chance to make the layering a little less intimidating for me. Because I think that if I had done it on, say, like shades of one specific color, I think I would have gotten a little more confused. And I did choose to blend on 2 shades of green for my leaves. And I did Rustic Wilderness and Mowed Lawn. And I didn't clean my brush between these colors. I did clean my brushes before I brought them to my Distress inks. If you guys have watched any of my videos in the past, you would have seen that I've used these brushes with oxides. You do not want to contaminate your 2 inks, especially oxide to ink, because oxides are pigment fusion. And they will color your inks. So do be aware of that. I mean, ideally, eventually I'll probably buy brushes separately. I do own domed foams, but because these pieces are so small, it made more sense to me to just clean my brushes and use the brushes for this. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. And then for the little rose bud, the bottom part you want to be green and the one piece is a leaf. So you also want that to be whatever shade of green you'd like it to be. And I did choose to do the little bud in Wilted Violet and Mermaid Lagoon simply because they are the furthest back colors in the rose. So they're the least you're going to see. And I just really wanted a little more pop of blue and purple on the card. If you guys have been with me for a minute, you know that purple is my favorite color. It's been my favorite color forever. I just love it. It so screams to me, but vibrant colors in general really make my heart happy. So any of the vibrant colors are really fun, but purple does have a special place in my heart. So I do tend towards purple if I need a color for something. And then here I'm showing you that, see, there's layer 2. I've written it on the back so that I know how to layer these up to adhere them. And I'm just going to put glue on the bottom of the rose. And then I do line them up. They do sit together nicely. So as long as you kind of have an idea of how you've colored them, you're going to have them sit together nicely and know how they go together. Like they all nestle together. But I'm always a little bit intimidated. And I really wanted to try it. When HoneyBee brought this rose out, I was enamored with it. I am just so in love with roses. Roses are beautiful. They come in so many different colors. They're so vibrant. They can be so much fun. And I just love the flower itself. So I had to have it. But of course, I don't play with layering dyes very often. I just tend to shy away from that. So I challenged myself to kind of do something different. And this is kind of what I came up with. So I did adhere all of my layers together, and I did adhere them just on the bottom so that I could kind of fluff the top of the rose out and give it a little more dimension. So for the bud, you're going to see here that the bottom layer goes right on top. You don't even see the green behind that little bud. And then the one little petal goes in front of it. And this is where that kind of color variation comes in. So I want to have it be blue and purple. And then that last little piece is actually a leaf that goes right on top of the bud. So it kind of makes it look like there's leaves going all the way around. So the same with that little leaf, I only adhered on the bottom because I wanted to be able to prop it up and give it a little dimension. And then with the leaves, there's not as many pieces to the leaves as there is the rose, which is great because the rose was already a little bit intimidating. But I did try to get some color variation. In the end, I'm not as happy with the color variation as I have here. I really wish that I had maybe brought in either a third color or maybe gone for a different set of greens. But I mean, it's still beautiful. It's a floral. You can't go wrong with florals. There's no way. So, and again, I did try to adhere everything just on the base of where it attached so that I could bring some dimension to it and have everything pop up. Now, in the end of this, I'm not as happy with the leaves. So you're going to see when I get to like the very end, I've done everything with this card. This card is pretty much finished, and I decided to bring in a white highlight just because I wanted some extra texture and difference to the colors. So I generally shy away from solid color simply because I find it doesn't give you as much dimension as I would like. And here you can see that I'm just kind of trying to fluff up the layers of the rose there. So I brought in another piece of my HammerMill cardstock, and this one I'm cutting down to be about, I'd say 3/4 of an inch smaller than my HU base because I'm going to make a black mat, which is going to be about 1/4 of an inch smaller than my base. And I'm going to put it through an embossing folder. This is the Simon Says Stamp Crystal Distortion folder. It is one of my favorite folders. I love it. It's just this kind of abstract, cool background. And I find that it adds texture without taking away from your focal point. So that's something that I really enjoy in my cards. And I did bring in a black mat. This is because my sentiment is black. And I didn't want my sentiment to be the only black thing on the card. I think that then it ends up drawing a little bit of focus. So I framed this hoping that then it would kind of blend in a little better and the rose would still pull all of the focus. So I am going to cut down. This is just a sentiment strip from Simon Says Stamp. It was already pretty much trimmed down. It was just sitting in a pouch that I keep them all in. And it just says, thanks a bunch. I just thought that was really pretty. And if you guys have been with me for a minute, you know that I always need thank you cards and birthday cards. They are my most mailed cards, so I try really hard to make those most of the time. And I'm just stocking back up on thank you cards because I kind of ran out. And you see me kind of playing with my layout there as well. And then here I'm going to start adhering everything together. So I did take my embossed piece of cardstock first, and I am going to put my Misti on top of it because I find that when I 3D emboss things, it doesn't really want to stick on the cardstock. And fair, I mean, I've put a whole bunch of dimension on it. So this is going to smush your dimension down a little bit, but honestly, you can't really tell. It just makes it so that I'm sure it adhered to the cardstock, which to me is more important than having all of the dimension. And then I'm also going to adhere it down onto the side fold card base, and then I'm going to start laying down my pieces. So with the stem and the leaves, I do lay those completely flat on the card. I mean, they have dimension because there's layers anyway, but I'm not going to add any extra dimension to them. And then I do the little rosebud as well, and I kind of try to tuck it a little bit behind the stem, a little bit behind that one leaf to kind of make it look like it's coming out of the stem, and I have to weigh it down to make it stay there. And then I also add the sentiment right away because it's also going to be flat and tucked under that one leaf a little bit, which I struggled a little bit with because I had already adhered it, but that's okay, I got it under there. And then for the rose, I am going to add a bunch of thin 3D foam squares to it. Just because, again, I want it to draw focus. I want it to be the the thing that you concentrate on the most. So making it sit a bit higher than everything else will help draw that focus. And that's kind of the only reason I really did it. You might have a problem getting this in an A2 envelope, but I'll just make my own, so that's okay. And I did bring in my Spectrum Noir glitter pen because, you know, all the things need to be shiny and it's a flower, so why the heck not? But be careful because, of course, Distress inks are reactivated with water, and the glitter pen, not that I think it's water, but it is liquid, so it will move the color around if you're not careful. So you see me paint it off on the glass mat so that I'm not transferring color between each color and then muddying what the colors look like. I want them to be as vibrant as possible. And then I'm adding some Studio Katia Vanilla Luster Fusion Sequins. I had to remember what they were called. And I just kind of spattered them across the background just to add a little bit extra. They shine in such a cool color. You'll see them here when I hold them up at the end of the video. I love how they look. They're like a creamy rainbow. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that very well, but you'll see it kind of when I hold them up. And then here, like, everything's done. Like, I was going to call this card done. I thought I was finished. And I didn't like how solid the leaves looked. There wasn't enough dimension to them for me. So I brought in my white gel pen and I'm just going to add some highlights kind of here and there all over the card, all over the flower and the leaves and the stem and the bud, just to add a little extra dimension to my card. And now there's no exact light source to this. There's no specific way I'm trying to add the highlights so they make more sense because I have no shadows. So the highlights wouldn't make sense. This is honestly just because I wanted extra dimension, especially on the leaves. And then I'm going to hold them up here and you can see those sequins. Look at how pretty those are. I don't know if I'm explaining them very well, but I think that they're stunning, and I really like how they don't pull focus, but they still kind of reflect the colors that are already in the card. And look at all that shine. I am so in love with this card. I just think it turned out really pretty. I would love to know what you guys think. Leave me a comment, leave me a like, and I'd love if you'd consider subscribing. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.